said, I mean, there's no one like me. Trying, deep down, you trying.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Paris Hart and Jason Williams coming at you live for another episode of the Love of It podcast. Today we have an interesting person, not only a singer or a songwriter, but a producer and a visual artist. Today we have Tianda.
Thank you. Wow. Why can't I always get intros like that? You guys are so nice.
So to start it off, you're from Northern British Columbia. How would you say that has influenced your sound?
I think the biggest influence that growing up where I grew up in a village in northern BC had on me was the fact that I even started playing music in the first place, because there was literally nothing else to do. Like, I had dial-up speed internet for most of my growing up life, and I had satellite TV that would cut out every time it was cloudy. So I was like, I guess I'll learn guitar, right? And a large part of my life was just dedicated to songwriting right from the jump, because I had a lot of time on my hands.
When you first started getting into songwriting and like into music, what's something that you really stood out to you? I was like, yeah, like this is what I like about it, or this is what I like want to do with it.
For me, the reason I originally connected with music and what sort of flipped the switch of like, I need to do this too, it was like, I knew I liked music growing up, listening to like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all those kind of Disney girls. But when Taylor Swift came around and when Avril Lavigne came around, and I saw that those girls were actually writing their own music and speaking in their own words, and I started listening to their interviews and hearing who they were as people actually was coming out in their songwriting, that was really inspiring to me. That was the first time that I was like, oh, I can actually just write songs too.
Not only do you write your own songs, but you taught yourself piano, you taught yourself guitar, and we read that you taught yourself GarageBand. Me and Jason just really love the fact that you're not someone that's saying, okay, I need a private instructor, I need someone to go to do this for me. That you're really hands-on and you took the effort to really get out there and do it yourself. How do you feel getting to that point was in just saying, you know what, I'm going to teach myself what I have to?
Yeah, I mean, it really came out of necessity. Like, I never wanted to just be able to flex and be like, I do everything myself. But what it really came down to was like, when I didn't blow up at 16, it's not as easy to get people to work with you, right? If you're not anyone, like, they're not going to be volunteering you their time for free. And so I realized, like, if you want a producer, if you want a graphic designer, like, you're going to probably have to be those things for yourself for a while until you prove that other people should invest their time in you. So I just buckled down and I was like, this is what it has to be until I can afford to hire the team I need. And it all just kind of compounded, and here we are, I guess.
Would you say that you learned the instruments and learn how to do everything for your career, or would you say that those things came like naturally to you and you just like gravitated toward those?
I think the songwriting, the writing, and the playing guitar, that was just for fun. I just have always wanted to do that my whole life, and that's what I grew up doing in my spare time. When it came to producing, I resisted that for a long time. I did not want to learn it. I was so intimidated. I was like, it feels like math. It doesn't feel creative because it's too hard. I didn't want to do it, but I was forced to. And then once I got into it, I realized I love it just as much as the songwriting.
What going after like people's dreams and careers come with, there's like a balance of, you know, like doing what you like love and doing what you're like, able to, you know, like naturally do, and then doing what you have to like learn and aspire to do. And I feel like a lot of people out there can feel very intimidated, like you said, about, you know, doing like the opposite side of them. Like, more people are like more analytical, so like they're afraid to go to like the creative side, and then, you know, vice versa,
Yeah.
the creative side back to the analytical side. So it's just like, when it, you know, comes to like somebody like you who's able to, you know, like, I guess in a sense, like bear fruit of like, hey, like I'm able to do both and it's very possible. That's something that really, that, you know, we really enjoy about your artistry.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really important to me, right? When I listen to artists that I really love, I love it when I hear the artist in every part of the song, and when I know that they had a hand in the artwork, and when I know that the content that they're posting is coming from their own brain, it just makes me feel more connected to them. And so if you have skills or the ability to have input in every area, like, the more you put yourself into your art, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it makes it better for when you work with other people, because you're at least eligible of, okay, I did this, so can you put that type of flavor? Can you say this? And it really makes working with people like smoother. Speaking of that, how would you say your support system has been, and the people that you have worked with, how important have they been?
I have so many mentors, it feels like. One thing I realized early on is, like, learning everything by yourself is a decade-long journey. Like, that takes forever. But if you have mentors, they can really help kind of shortcut and get you there. And so I would say like a lot of my ability to learn how to produce and play instruments and songwrite even has just been because so many people were willing to work with me and collab with me and take me under their wing. So super grateful for all the help that I had to get there for sure.
We read that you started actually working in churches and singing in churches. So
Yeah.
what was the switch like from, okay, I'm singing in churches, to now I'm going to go and pursue this as an actual job?
Man, my music journey was so random. I started singing in churches because I don't know if you guys have ever been to a church service, but like the worship is so, you just feel it. Like, I don't care. Even if you're not religious, you walk in, you feel it. And I just wanted to be a part of that because I felt it. And so my church was so sweet. They had like auditions, and I auditioned, and they picked me, and I got to start singing in the band, but I was so shy. I could not move. I would stand there, I would freak out, I would write the words on my hands so I wouldn't forget them. Like, it was hard for me. And I would say for like the first few years of performing in public, I was like, I don't know if I can ever do this as a real career because I'm so scared of it. And then I started singing in a cover band in a bar, and that really, again, flipped a switch for me. And I was like, oh, this can actually be really fun once you get comfortable and quite good at it. But I would say I played over 150 shows before I was like, I'm so comfortable and I'm in my element now. Like it took a while. And then I was like, I want to do this in front of a lot of people forever.
What's one thing that you like learned or like actively like changed about yourself to like better yourself for your shows? You know, was that switch from the first 150 to the next 150, you know?
There was a certain, so I played almost every weekend for a few years. And there was a certain point, like, obviously you're in a bar, there's alcohol involved, you're smoking weed a lot of the time, you're up late, whatever. There's an element of delinquency. And when there's an element of delinquency and live music, what ends up happening is everything that could possibly go wrong on stage in public eventually goes wrong on stage in public. I embarrassed myself so many times at that job, whether it was like getting too drunk, forgetting the lyrics, like tripping on stage, running out of breath because I didn't rehearse enough. Like every single embarrassing thing you can think of happened. And eventually I realized that by next weekend, nobody remembered. No one cared. And once I realized no one else cared, then I just stopped caring. And not just like in my live performances, but in everything that I do, like with my content, my writing, I'm just like, no one cares. And that was so liberating. And I think that's given me sort of the freedom to express myself now in a much more confident way than before.
Yeah, and you certainly hear it in your music. Your music feels like it's not just, okay, I'm talking about what everyone thinks I'm living. It's no, you're hearing Tianda, you're hearing my life, what I go through. And your music's been deep. How's the feedback been about having deep music? Because some people say, oh my gosh, I love it, I connect with it. And then you obviously have the social media warriors who are like, oh my gosh, this is so deep. What was happening?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my music that I'm posting on social media right now is a lot deeper than what's on Spotify, because I feel like only recently I've discovered my sound and what I kind of want to say. For the first while releasing music and writing it myself and being in charge of it, I was really thinking about like what's commercial, what works, what are other people doing. I had a lot of artists that I wanted to sound like, for example. And I realized through that process that when I was releasing my songs, I didn't 100% believe in them. And so I started writing songs I 100% believe in, and they're a lot wordier and they're a lot deeper and there's a lot more substance in them. And I know that in doing that, I'm going to lose the people who just want like catchy melodies or dance songs or party songs. But I also know that I'll probably find the overthinkers and the people who are just like me, who want to listen to songs that make them feel heard. And so I've just decided, like, this is who I am. It will find the right people. And if that's less people, like, that's all good.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like in growing that authentic audience, that authentic fan base, that's like a real reward. It's like you really want to get the people that vibe with your sound, because your sound is an extension of you. So it's like, why go after the labels? Why go after the money? You know, granted, like some people, you know, do it for, you know, necessity wise and whatever, but that's not the only path in it, basically, you know?
Yeah. And I also feel like I've done a good job of setting myself up where music isn't my only income stream. And so I can afford to take creative risks, and I don't have to write songs to get specific placements, or I don't need to get 1 million streams because I need the money necessarily. And so it's allowed me to take my time and work on music just because I like it. And I think that's like a huge privilege that's benefited my sound greatly.
Hey, and your sound is so unique. Your Spotify bio does say, though, when I find my sound,
yeah. I'm going to change it soon.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, she found it, y'all. She really found it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, though. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna forego into that question of do you think that that's something that you could find, or is it something that you feel like is always changing?
It's both. The answer is definitely both. I think I'll consider myself having found a sound when I release songs, and I'm like, I'm so proud of this. I want to listen to it in the room with people. I want to scream at the top of my lungs. That's how I'll know. When I got into music, one thing that really inspired me was I'm a big Anderson .Paak fan, and he did an interview where he basically said, I want to be so me that no matter what producer I work with, no matter what genre I'm singing, no matter what beat it is, you always know it's me because of what I'm saying and what I sound like. And I thought that was really inspiring because having had most of my experience at playing live shows in every genre possible in a cover band, I just realized I love so many different genres and different types of music. But that being said, recently, like I've been working on writing for this album for almost 2 years now. Having written so many songs, I've definitely narrowed it down to what I would describe my music as. We're definitely going for like a soul pop vibe. It's very deep. It's very self-reflective, if that's a word. It's definitely for people who listen to music for the lyrics.
Dang, and we read that a label actually once told you that your songs are too deep. What was
Yeah.
what was that like, or just hearing something like that?
I mean, I was 15 at the time and I had just won a TV show. So I thought I was going to be the next Justin Bieber, as any 15-year-old in that situation would. And when they told me that, I just believed them. I was like, okay, no problem. I'll change whatever you want. Like, because I was a kid. I didn't have anyone in my corner to tell me not to do that. And it led me down a wrong path for a while. I got very confused and artistically frustrated, but it was a necessary part of the growth for sure.
Yeah, and having important people in your corner is super important. What's one piece of advice or like something that really stuck out to you that you kind of took with you that somebody, like a mentor or a friend, told you?
You know, when I was 15, and hopefully my dad never sees this interview because I'll never admit this to him, but when I was 15 and I was going through the whole label situation, eventually what happened is we put the songs out, they flopped, and we didn't work together anymore. Like it just didn't go well. And I remember after that experience, I was so depressed and I was like, I'm never going to be an artist. I missed my shot, was basically my mindset. And my dad was like, Tianda, I'm going to buy you the software you need. You have a whole studio. You have every instrument you'll ever need. Just learn it. Just learn how to do the things yourself so that if no one wants to work with you anymore, you can still make music. And I was like, you don't know anything about the music industry. I need a team. I need these guys sitting at computers to make my music for me. I can't possibly learn all these things. And I just had so many limiting beliefs that other people put on me. If I would have listened to him, I could have probably shaved off like 5 to 6 years of this journey, but it's okay. We're learning things the hard way. We're still learning, but that's definitely the best piece of advice I've ever gotten, is just learn as much as you can so you can keep going.
Oh yeah, shout out Dad. Hope you're not listening though, but
Yeah.
shout out if you are.
I won't accept the I told you so.
Me and Jason try to push this to not only our listeners, but to everyone that we talk to that's an aspiring artist. Yes, you could go and make it by yourself, but you have to have that understanding of, okay, someone's going to give me a good word of advice. You have to listen. You can't sit there and say, I know everything. The music I make is 100% great. You really need that team. You really need those people that can sit down with you and help guide you down that path. I just want to say thank you for just reinforcing that. Sometimes we're wrong, but when you're wrong and you could learn from those L's and they could turn into W's.
Yeah. And I think it's also so important to filter who you take advice from, and also filter who you even ask for advice, because a lot of people just want like validation or want to be heard, so they ask too many people for advice and then they get very confused about their direction. So it's important to, as much as it's important to listen, it's also really important to filter out like who's not necessarily worth listening to this time. And
it's a very good balance to have, because I feel like there's a lot of influences out there that kind of always tend to lead people in certain directions that this could be just be authentic at the end of the day.
Yeah. And to kind of spin the conversation, not only do you make great music, but you perform a lot and you're a great performer. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer writing or do you prefer performing?
I prefer writing. I'm definitely an introvert. Like I get on stage and I turn into like my alter ego. I have no idea who that is. But if I could choose to just be alone most of the time or always be touring and like performing, I would definitely choose to be alone and writing. For me, that's just when I feel like I tap into my best energy. But I do love performing and I do love meeting people. I don't know if I'm going to be like a 6-month tour girl. I might be like a weekend tour girl,
Yeah, definitely. So does that also count for like working and collabing with other artists and like writing your piece? Like, how does that usually like go for you?
It depends. For my own music, I really like to write it all by myself. I've never really found like having someone else in the room for the songwriting process adds, because I feel like it kind of just filters down what I'm trying to say. But that being said, I've also been writing songs for like 13 years, so I expect myself to be able to do that. In terms of writing with producers, instrumentalists, I love doing that. I also love collabing and just writing songs together, because if I'm writing a song with an artist, then it's both of our perspectives, and it makes sense, so we can both speak very authentically that way. So it just depends on the situation, but I would say it's like 50-50 if I'm working by myself or working with other people. A lot of Zoom lately, obviously, because of the pandemic, but I do writing trips as well.
Hey, and speaking of your music, Give Me Love was dropped in November. What was writing that like?
I wrote it so long ago, I barely remember, but so basically that that song is really funny. I started releasing music in 2020, so I'm like brand new back in the game. And there was this artist, Conch, that I just really wanted to make a song with. But every time I asked him to collab, he was like not really down, because I wasn't that good yet. And I also didn't have a fan base or like any songs out. But one day I was working with a producer that he worked with, and he played me a song they were working on, and I just freestyled pretty much this whole song by accident. I was like, this is such a vibe, I need this song. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, this is so weird. I know this is your song, but can I have it? I have something sick for it, I promise. And he was actually down. And so he's like, sure. And then when he heard what I wrote, he's like, can I jump on it? It's dope. So I kind of accidentally got the feature that I wanted just by like, yeah, some sneaky networking, I guess. But it was just a freestyle, and then we took like 2 years to finish it, because I'm an overthinker, and I eventually just put it out because I'm like, I need to move forward. But yeah, it was pretty old by the time it came out.
That's so dope. And it just shows that if something's meant to happen, if you put it in the air and put it in fruition, it's gonna come back if you work hard. It's opportunity and preparation equals luck.
Yeah, success is in preparation meets opportunity. I believe that 100%, and I have so many examples of that happening in my real life.
That's just so dope, and we just love to hear it. Really, having the creative freedom is huge, and it really means a lot, because that's the purest you could be, and there's really no limits. And speaking of that, we've had some artists on the show previously that talk about how they were signed and they had a terrible experience because they couldn't be themselves, or they had a manager that said they couldn't do certain things. How would you feel like taking the limits off has helped you? And do you prefer independent or working with a label if you had to choose?
Yeah, I think it's totally like, people see labels as this blanket thing where every experience is the same, but just like dating, like working with people in the music industry, every single experience is so different. So back when I worked with a label the first time, I worked with a major label, and I was 15 years old. I had no experience and no team. I had no idea who I was or what I was doing. So my experience was quite frankly bad, because I didn't have those pieces in place before I started working with this label. So of course the label was like, we think you should wear this. Here are the things you should say. Here are the songs you should sing, because I couldn't bring that to the table yet. So people saw through it. It was so obviously not authentic. I got a bit memed, and it didn't work out. So now that I'm older and I've kind of taken the time to figure it out, I know who I am. I know what I sound like. I know what I look like. So just in the past couple months, I have started assembling a team with management. I do have a label that I'm potentially looking at working with, but now a label deal would be so different, because I wouldn't be looking for somebody to fund the creation of my music, or be super involved in the creative process. I would more so be looking for a label to team up with and say, hey, I made this record. Here's all the pictures, the graphics, the videos. Do you want to team up and try to make this as big as possible, and then share some of the money after? And if there's a label that wants to do that, great. And if not, I'll look at other routes like grants and bank loans, and building a team and just operating that way.
And well, speaking of, putting things out there and, creating your sound and giving that to the labels, what are you giving us in 2022? Do you have anything coming up?
Yeah. I'm definitely in the middle of writing an album right now. It's been a huge, long process of finding my sound, but I feel like I finally found it. And now it's just a matter of finishing the production, finding the right people to mix and master it, and then looking at release. So when I release is largely going to depend on who I end up going to release with, right? Obviously I'll work with whomever I sign with to come up with the best release strategy. I'm hoping for summer, but the way that I overthink things and the way that I'm a perfectionist, I would say like that's a loose deadline. And I also kind of leave it up to the universe. I know I'm going to be writing a lot of music this year, and I know I'm going to be releasing a lot of music this year, but when exactly that's going to start, I'm not sure. I don't want to rush it.
And that's how it should be. It should be your
Yeah.
time, your sound, and everything on you. And we just want to praise that, because so many people talk about, okay, like, I hate spending this back, but so many people talk about, I need a label, or I need management,
Yeah.
or I need this specific producer because they're going to do X, Y, and Z for me. And it really turns out that an independent artist could do a lot of the same things. We have TikTok, we have distribution services at our fingertips. And really, once you come with that solid plan, like you're coming with okay, I have this, and that I'm bringing to you, it really makes it easier to approach a label. And it really makes it better for the artist, that instead of going in there with nothing, saying like, hey, just put me where you want. I just praise you saying that message, because this is what we try preaching to our listeners, to all the musicians out there. Like, if you have a plan, stick with it, stick with your guns, and really be authentically, unapologetically yourself. And we just want to praise you for that.
I would take it even one step further. Like, if you truly have a plan and you're executing on that plan, and you know your music and your content is good, you shouldn't even have to approach labels. Like, you'll know because they'll be approaching you. And my whole life, my whole music life, I've never applied for an opportunity. I've never asked to work with any of the labels I work with. I've never asked to meet with management. They have all come to me because I didn't talk about it. I lived it until they noticed. And I think that's really like what people need to look at.
Yeah. And even going off that, like, you know what it is that the labels are looking at. We're in the right age group, the right generation of, okay, we have the access, we have the influence, and we have like the creativity to, like, you know, maneuver through whatever. So like the labels are kind of looking at our generation and then trying to hire people to make us do what we already do in our generation naturally. It's kind of like, you feel me? It's like kind of a weird attachment they're trying to like own. So I feel like if you're able to be yourself on the internet and that takes off, the industries will try to copy the people who are taking off. So, you know, be yourself, and, you know, if you're getting copied, you might be doing something right.
No, and it'll surprise you how labels will notice you too. Like, one really interesting thing about my experience on TikTok is, because I don't have any music finished yet, I was like, I don't have anything to post. I have nothing to promote on this app. Like, what am I going to do? So I just started talking about, you know, my journey in music and storytelling and giving advice where I could. And what ended up happening is I got meetings with like 4 different management companies in the span of 2 weeks, and a label. And they were all interested in working with me. And what's funny about it is, every time I got on the phone with them, it always started with something along the lines of, I don't even remember why I followed you, but you seem really smart. So we just wanted to get on the phone and like see what's up. And then after the call, I'd be like, I'll send you some of my demos. Let me know what you think. And that was how I got my foot in the door. So it's like, if you don't have finished music yet, or if you don't have a producer yet, that doesn't mean that you're out of the game. Just like, still put your best foot forward, because you never know who's going to see that and be like, oh, I think I could build with that person. And that's exactly what happened to me.
We want to shine light on the people that are doing what they love, doing it well, and that are doing it just, it's, the sky's the limit. I don't know. We just love the genuine, and we love what you're doing. And just thank you for being genuinely, unapologetically yourself.
You're super raw, yo.
Thank you. It's important to me. I feel like the internet is starving for authenticity. So I just want to do my part.
Being positive creates such a dope wave that, like, it's not even about making a huge wave. It's about making the impact in the huge wave. And I feel like people kind of look at it like vice versa, you know, just like, you know, like, if you want to do something, you might have a lot of like pushback to like try to do it, but that means you should definitely do it.
That's how I feel. And I think you should do it your way too, because one of the things I've lived by over the past 2 years is, I'm here for a movement, not a moment. And sometimes movements take longer, and sometimes they grow slower, and they're baby steps. But even though my accounts on social media even grow slower and steadier than someone who has maybe a viral smash, The people who follow me, they're in it with me. Like I feel like I know them. I feel like we're connecting. We're on the same page. We have a Discord where we talk about our daily goals, what we're accomplishing. We help each other. Like it's truly something that's going to be sustainable over time. And I know that they're not just going to forget about me the next time another viral song comes out. And that's something that's really important to me. And I think that's something you can only build if you're being authentic versus like chasing what's popular or chasing trends all the time.
Yeah, that's a fact. Oh my God, that's the
Yeah.
wisest thing that we probably heard on this podcast.
Oh no.
What would you tell someone that's trying to get into the game? That's like, Tianda, I just want to be a musician.
Oh wow. I mean, I think the first question I would ask them is why? Like, because if it's for money or any sort of recognition, probably pick something else where it's easier to get recognized and paid. But if it's because you love it, my advice would be like, first of all, don't let anyone tell you to quit, no matter how crazy, no matter how bad you are in this current moment. Like you can accelerate so quickly. And that's the biggest thing is people see it as like, oh my God, it's this long road to the top and I'm going to have to work so hard. And that's true, but it's not always a climb upwards. It's a game of snakes and ladders. And sometimes you rocket ship to the top and sometimes you fall back down, and you just shouldn't ever try to plan how much time and energy it's going to take to get there. Just keep always pushing forward and know that you'll eventually get there, and don't let anybody tell you you can't.
Yeah, no, that was well said. Really well said. I feel like
Thank you.
you had to tell yourself that a couple of times too. I feel like any type of advice that we have to give out, we had to live. And I can definitely tell you lived through that.
Oh yeah.
By the way you said it.
I mean, it's hard, right? Because you're in this industry and there's no blueprint for it. So all you can do is compare like what you're doing to what other people are doing and try to gauge if you're successful or not. And because of that, we always think, well, this person did it in a year, this person did it in 2 years. And then if you don't, you're mad and you're failing to see all the other paths because you're only focused on one. So it's like, forget all of that stuff. Forget how long it will take, how you think you're going to do it. Just have the best 30 minutes at a time and eventually you're going to get there. That's how I feel.
Yeah, man. Comparison's a thief of joy.
Yeah.
If someone's listening out there and they're like, Tianda just sounds so dope, I have to check her out. What are some socials that they could check you out on?
Yeah, I'm Tiandaland everywhere. So if you're just looking for like music, advice, content, you want to hang, follow me anywhere. But if you want to connect more and just like try out on a daily basis and get involved in the community, I have a Discord as well. So that's in all my social bio links. And that's where like all the people who are really bought in and kind of growing with me hang out.
Hey, that's what's up. And everyone out there listening, make sure that you go listen to some dope music from a dope, genuine artist.
Thank you.
Anytime. And just thank you for being a part of the podcast.
This is Tianda, and you're tuning into the Love of It podcast.